To lead or not to lead? That is the question. That is the 5-1 dilemma. And this is a dilemma for most fifth lines, but it plays out even more excruciatingly for the 5-1. The reason being that the 5-line personality is here to be the savior. So people will project onto you that you can solve the problem, that you can take the lead and make everything better. So you're expected to be the savior and to find solutions to whatever it is that is needing to be solved. And yet, if you don't solve the situation and if your leadership doesn't succeed, then your reputation is at stake and you could be burned at the stake. And so you could be punished, really, for failing. It's kind of an unfair thing, which makes fifth lines wary of stepping into leadership. They have an intuitive knowing that leadership is not always going to work out well for them. And so they can be a little bit hesitant. And this is especially true for the 5-1 because the 1-line body is looking for something solid and secure and is naturally insecure. So the tendency of the 5-1 is to kind of shy away from leadership, to avoid leadership, to hide. And it's really unfortunate because the 5-1 truly is a remarkable leader who has genuinely great leadership skills and ability to solve problems, difficult problems. I cannot think of a better example than my friend Rory Evelyn, who is a 5-1, and I've known him for years and have had the privilege of getting to hear his stories. And Rory has been a very successful leader in his career in snow safety and avalanche control, as well as a ski patroller. In today's video, he's going to share some stories about how he has navigated this lead or not situation and also navigated defending his reputation in moments where it's being jeopardized or where people are wanting to kind of burn him at the stake. There's something magical that Rory does to make sure that it works out in his favor and that his decision to lead goes well. And let's explore what that is through storytelling, and I'll come back to you with that later.
Hi, I'm Rory Evelyn, and I live in Calgary, Alberta. I work in the mountains as an avalanche forecaster and a ski patrol. So I look after snow stability and injured people mostly. Well, working with ski patrol, I definitely did have a reputation of an odd intuition of showing up for situations that were causing other people anxiety and making it a lot easier for them. I think a lot of it just has to do with I was given freedom of movement, and there is something to say about intuition guiding you towards stuff, because after doing this for 30 years, it seems impossible that I didn't end up in some places without some sort of unconscious force guiding me there. Some of those instances seem to occur. I make choices to go places that I realize are not necessarily choices formed with words in my mind. I just move through space. And it's my job to be there for people. And so I'm there for people. I'm not quite sure how it goes about, but it does work quite well. And it's really rewarding for me. I love those stories. Like they mean the world to me. They're like, oh, well, that's like vindication that I'm doing the right thing, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. It's just part of the game. There was an unusual accident that had happened where it wasn't a serious accident. It was just someone that had with a leg injury, but the patrollers couldn't find them. And because I work snow safety and avalanche work, I was actually out of bounds doing a snow profile for evaluating the stability of the snowpack. And I was listening to the patrollers looking for this person, and they'd gone on all the runs on that side of the mountain, and they'd found a witness at the bottom and had gone up, and the person was like, yeah, they were like yelling here and they still can't find them. And they're like, well, that must be the person that's hurt. And now there's no one there. And so I thought, well, if I come back to the ski resort, I just took the most straight line that I could. And I went under the boundary and cut across runs through the trees, bushwhacking and pushing branches out of my way. And it was actually just to get to the lift so I could go back up. And I came through the trees at the spot that the person was laying. And I think the reason that they couldn't hear that person is there's just a little bit of wind that had come up, and they were in a little bit of a hollow. And so I showed up and I said, oh, I found this person. And the other patrollers, although they were really happy that I was there and it had solved this for them, they were actually quite upset because they were like, well, we've been calling, looking for this person for quite a while. Where were you? You weren't on the lift. No one saw you at the top. And so where did you come from? And I think someone actually went and looked at my tracks of where I'd come from to get to this point, to find this person. And that was definitely just a happenstance, but it was intuition because I didn't have to go back there. In fact, it was very inconvenient to take that route back. I could have disappeared and not done anything and ended up on another mountain in 5 minutes. But it's like, no, there's some reason that I'm compelled to head back. And maybe that's because I'm going to find this person.
That's so awesome. And you do have that reputation. Can you share your nickname on the hill and why?
Okay, well, my nickname on the hill is Ghost. And it's because of how I move around and appear in places that are unexpected or people believe or people feel are unbelievable to be at one point at one time and to be at another point at another time. They're like, there's no way that you could have gone between that space in the time that they perceived. That's how, I'm like that on the ski hill, but I'm like that in life. I wander everywhere, and that's part of me being nosy. And that's part of my intuition too, is that ghostly way of moving about. I startle everyone all the time too, and I don't mean to. I definitely show up at a lot of places that I'm not expected. So I have that reputation when I'm living at other people's houses as well. I don't mean to be ghostly at all.
So I hope that you're starting to see that the thing that Rory's doing is he's really listening to his intuition, and he's allowing his body to guide him into the correct situations for him. This is essential. This is the equivalent in human design language of following your strategy and authority, which is basically listening to your body's guidance over what your mind says that you should do. And I have really seen that Rory has used his intuition to choose which situations to step into as a leader and which situations to avoid. And that has really protected and maintained his reputation and a decades-long career successfully. I have noticed where skiing around with you, where 97% of the time, if there was a call that came through, you would respond and you would be the savior.
Good.
And a certain percentage of the time that when we were in that same area where the accident had taken place, where you just had this feeling like you shouldn't go.
I think sometimes when there would be a call that I could respond to and I wouldn't go, that is more to do with what I feel I can contribute to the situation that's going to unfold. And if I feel that the people there are competent and that I'm not going to benefit that group, then it's my choice not to go to that. And then there's sometimes that I might have a skill or I might have some knowledge that is a benefit, and I recognize that people in that situation will be welcoming of that, then I will go. And if there's a situation that's going to cause me a lot of anxiety and I still know that it's going to be a benefit, I will persevere to convince the people that feel that I'm a heretic that what I'm presenting is correct. And in those situations, it's all about the person that I'm helping. And I take the consequences of some baggage that I might carry around from other people's responses to me as part of the deal.
Amazing answer. Thank you. I remember talking to one of the ski patrollers who said that the moment that you arrive on scene, that you just felt so relaxed. Like Oh, Rory's here. Thank goodness.
Living in a projection field where people are constantly have expectations of how I'm going to provide a solution for them can be a little bit confusing because it can come out of left field. Sometimes it's really well structured that people are like, oh, okay, this is this person for whatever reason we've decided to go along with him finding a solution for this. But sometimes they don't really want me to find a solution, but they include me. And then they're a little bit disappointed that I'm the one that comes up with the solution. It seems odd. I know I'm in the right place, but the people are like telling me that what I'm doing is wrong. And it's like, oh, why did you ask for my help? So
I think there's a specific story that goes with that.
there is a little one. Some of the work that I do is with high angle rescue, and you work with fittings that climbers use to ascend and descend certain situations. And some of them use little bits and pieces that we're not as familiar with and they're technical. So we put together a system that was not supposed to come apart. The guy who did it, he put himself in a position of authority, and he did this thing and then realized that it had been assembled incorrectly. And the consequence of disassembling it was a part that was worth $180 on a set of 20 of these harnesses that had been set up. And they had apparently been trying to figure out how to get this one little piece that looked like they could disassemble it, but they couldn't get any tools into it. They couldn't unscrew the fitting because it had been thread locked. They couldn't apply heat to it due to damage to the aluminum. And they'd been working on it for a couple of days, and then they called me in and they're like, here, Rory, you can have a go at this because we're not getting anywhere. And that was one of those situations where I came and I started looking at it, and I was immediately told that I wouldn't be successful at it. You're kind of like, yeah, you're the last ditch. We'll bring you in because you figure out things sometimes, but this time you're not going to do it. You're not going to pull this one off. And what it was is that one of the pieces that they were trying to unscrew, if you applied a force to it to deform the metal just a little bit, like it's spring steel, you could take it apart. And they had already cut one of these pieces and damaged the expensive part that they didn't want to. And they were so unimpressed that my solution was really, really simple. It works out in the end, but it's not always accepted at all. It's not just like, oh, great, here it is. There's always a little bit of begrudgingly like grumbling that goes along with it.
I feel like that has to do with being a heretic because, like I said, the definition of the heretic is someone that's sharing like a non-common truth, like something that people don't want to readily just embrace. The truth of the heretic. So you're sharing something that's like out of the ordinary.
That I really like doing that. Now that I think about it, I can see how I'm viewed as a heretic, but that's a really good place for me to be often.
I love this story about how, they ask for his help and then they don't really want his help. And some people are a little bit resentful when Rory comes in and actually saves the day. I love this story because as a 5-1, it just demonstrates so many things. It shows having to handle the projection field that comes along with being a 5th line, and also how the 5-1 is truly knowledgeable and able to provide solutions in a way that is quite remarkable. And I also just love Rory's confidence to back himself up, and that he's not really needing validation from people around him, which is really the hallmark of a great leader. In conclusion, the answer to the dilemma to lead or not to lead is according to your intuition. That said, oftentimes people have an intuitive bias towards perhaps not leading, choosing to hide, because they haven't stepped into a willingness to face some of the challenges that come along with leadership. And this is where I have a gift of helping you to really embody the impact and the leadership that you are meant for. So if you know you're meant for more and you're not yet doing that, please hit me up for a reading, or you can book a one-on-one call with me to discuss working together through my Freedom to Launch Creator Circle. Now, if you didn't catch the video that I did about the 5-1 drive. I will link that here for you, and I'll put the link here to my readings. Thanks so much for being here, and I'm sending you so much love. And again, a big thank you to Rory for sharing his stories today. Bye.